And the agents, when I tell them that,
Yeah.
I said, listen, you're already in real estate. You're already doing the biggest transaction of the life.
Yeah.
And once you give another product,
Yeah.
you have a connection with this person for life,
Yep.
which, you do, because if their life insurance is active,
Yeah.
right? 10 years, 20 years, it's still your clients. They're still seeing on their statement your name every single time.
Absolutely.
Every year, at least once, they see your name,
Yeah.
right? When they open it, either they cuss you out or,
They
and
thank
good
you.
thing we don't have any variable contracts,
It's so funny when you say that, Sarki. So last year I had a family member who passed away,
Mhm.
and the husband calls me, and the first thing I want to say is like my condolences, right?
Yeah.
Before I even say that, he's like, "Mais, when the check gonna come?" I'm like, damn, I'm like, it's so sad, but I mean, I'm like, I need the death certificate, I mean,
It's
so-
like, how fast can you get me that? Yeah, it's so funny because
Yeah.
in this industry, you meet like the craziest people. And I had this one guy, and we were talking about insurance. I said, listen, let's get the insurance for your dad just in case. He
Yeah.
goes, man, if my dad dies, how will I eat that money? How would I use that money? It's like, it's not good. It's like, I can't really spend it, with a
Yeah.
good heart. And then I get a call like maybe 8 months later. He goes, Sarkis, can we do insurance? I'm like, on who? He goes, on my dad. I'm like, yeah, but what's going on? Because
Yeah.
like this is strange, when
Yeah.
they're rushing.
You were the guy that
And
was.
the guy was actually, because they find out the dad has
Some kind of sickness. Yeah.
that's going to pass away. And I'm in my mind, I'm like, man,
8
you didn't want to
months
buy
ago.
it then,
Yeah.
knowing because he's going to live.
Yeah.
Now he's going to die. Now you can actually want to spend that money, so it just,
That's crazy.
it's insane. Sometimes you hear things and it's just,
It's sad and funny at the same time,
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah.
and a lot of times, that's what the phone call gets. I always, when I go to clients, I say there's two different funerals. Have you heard this one? When
I don't know,
maybe
tell
when I
me,
went to
probably.
trainings with you, I might have said it, right? And I, they're like, what do you mean? I said, well, there's one that lives, there's two, which one is crying. The other one is laughter, enjoyment. They're celebrating the person's life. I said the one that's happy and people think they're not,
Yeah,
they're insensitive because they're laughing, but their husband just passed. I said, no, because there's two differences. The crying one and the happy one. The happy one is saying, thank you for, leaving us money. I don't have to
Yeah.
worry about it. I'm happy, not because you did, but you left me something. And the other one is cussing you. That's why they're crying. They're not
Yeah.
crying because they're sad. They're
There's a
crying
big
because they're
truth into
pissed.
it. Yeah.
How am I going to take care of the kids?
Yeah.
How am I going to live? How am I going to do? They don't think about those. They don't like, oh, I missed you.
Yeah.
They don't say I miss you. They're like,
Absolutely.
how am I going to live? Right? You didn't leave me anything. How am I going to raise the kids? This is all the things that usually top
Yeah.
5.
100%.
And then they remember somebody died. They're like, oh, I feel bad.
Yeah.
Like you said, where's
Yeah.
the check?
Yeah,
First
yeah.
one is check. Second one is how am I going to raise the kids?
Yeah.
And then they remember somebody died afterwards.
And so many funny stories throughout the years you learn. I remember probably 8 years ago, I got a referral. It's an insurance case.
Mhm.
And the person who referred me is very close to me. So, I got the number, I made the appointment, went their house. It's a newly married couple. And I was explaining the life insurance, and I can tell from the body language of the husband that
He's not
he's
going to
not
die.
interested.
He's not going to die.
I mean, his body language tells me
Yeah.
clearly that he's not interested. So, being in sales, you read people's emotions and body language. And I'm like, I feel like he's not interested. I'm like, you know what? Whenever you decide, let me know. But one thing, can I ask you one thing? God forbid, and they just had a new baby. I ask him, God forbid something happens to you. What's going to happen, to your wife and your newborn? You know what he told me? He comes a little bit close to me. He's like, Mais, let me tell you something. If anything happens to me, I don't care what happens.
Wow.
When he said that, I closed my presentation. I'm like, if you don't care, I double don't care. His wife left the room, went to the kitchen or room, never came back. And I just left the appointment. And then a few days later, he called me. I never answered him. So, a lot of these decisions that we do is not just for us. It's like you said, it's for your family. And you got to, being successful in a business is not just making money. It's doing the smart things with that money for your future and for your generation to come.
Yeah.
So you got to, plan it correctly.
It's a generational thing. And people,
absolutely.
I had many experiences like that too, where people they're just, I don't know. I don't care. If I'm going to, I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I don't even think they're going to pay it. Like a lot of people say, oh, how do I know if I died, they're going to pay the client?
Yeah.
We're going to be here. You might not know.
You know what I tell to those people? I'm like, do you have debt? Yeah, I have credit card. This.
Yeah.
If you die, how the bank knows you're going to pay your family?
Yeah.
People, this is just an excuse. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
It's just an excuse.
One time I told my client, I said, he said, let me think about it. I said, if you wake up tomorrow, call me. He's like, he got pissed at me. He's like, what? He goes, bro, what am I? I'm going to die tomorrow? I'm like, no, I'm just saying, a lot of my clients didn't wake up.
Tomorrow's never
I had a client that never woke up
Yeah.
and he didn't have a chance to buy it. He starts laughing, it's like, he goes, bro, you're telling me I'm going to die tomorrow. I'm like, no, I'm telling you to buy today.
Yeah.
If in case something happens to you, it's too late, and a lot of times we missed opportunities.
And let me tell you, Sarkis and Greg, in my opinion, if you study most successful people, right? Let's just keep it in the United States. I haven't met anybody successful who doesn't have investment or, let's say, life insurance. So there's a reason these people are successful, because they do wise decisions. People who broke, they should worry the most to get at something, because if something happens to them, they have nothing financially to live. If someone is millionaire, let's say they don't buy a life insurance, but the guy feels confidence because he has, let's say, $5 million or $10 million other types of asset. He's like, hey, if anything happens, it's okay. I don't need to have insurance.
Yeah.
I'll have this. My family can, use my other assets. But on the other end, people who are broke have nothing. They don't even buy. That's why I don't convince anymore.
Yeah, me neither.
I just feel if they don't get it, I move on. No waste
It's
time.
their problem, not yours.
100%.
I had too many tables flip on me.
Yeah.
When I try to convince them.
Yeah, it's just because you can't convince somebody that has an opinion. It's like your opinion is your opinion. It values more than my opinion. If I'm talking about something, if you don't think it's the right way, whose opinion is worth more, yours or somebody else's? It's usually yours.
Yeah.
And I always tell people when they when they tell me I cannot afford it, I said, listen, that is the reason why you need it.
Yeah.
Because I said, if you cannot afford $50 or $25, guess what? Your family is going to be in a big trouble if something happens to you, because you can't even afford $50 now to secure that future. And now your family, if something happens to you, they're going to go beg on the freeways to bury you.
I mean,
those are the same people. Sorry, but those are the same people that will have 2 cases of beer a day,
or go to Vegas.
Yeah.
or that.
Or Greg, think about it. Let's go back, let's say 5 years, 8 years. Someone buys a BMW X5 or S-Class, and they say, my payment is $1,200. Everybody will say, are you crazy? Sometimes, are you stupid?
Yeah.
Nowadays, someone buys a S-Class, you say $1,200 a month, you're like, bro, where do you get the deal from? And people say, I don't have money.
Yeah.
No, bro, I think it's not having a priority about your finances. Don't drive that. Get a $400 Lexus, invest the difference.
Yeah.
Once you become a little bit better, sure, go get the S-Class. Nothing
crazy.
wrong with that. It's just,
My cat loves. By the way, Lucky always asks the last questions.
Sure.
So she actually comes around at the end when he gets comfortable.
So that's a sign we got to finish.
She's like, okay, I'm done, right? No, but we rescued this one from the coyotes, so she got lucky and stayed here. That's why we call her Lucky.
Yeah.
She's our studio cat. She just can't. It's interesting. Like usually, she comes to the guests.
She's usually like in the, what is it?
Last time she hit right in the. We couldn't find her, and she
Oh.
was like in that skinny thing.
How old is she?
This one is, I think, is 7 months.
7
So
months?
she's still a baby.
Yeah.
So we have. That's why I said if we want to do sailing or we want to do across the country, we can do.
Yeah.
Drive with Lucky. We can be 3 of us going cross country
Yeah.
and
It's
going
great
through.
animals. Yeah.
Yeah, they're the best. I think cats. See, cats, like, they're always like she's cleaning herself right
Yeah.
now. Right, they're always cleaning themselves.
Yeah.
Dogs are like guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cats are like females. They're always clean. Like dogs like smell after 1 hour after the shower. They still smell. They stink. But cats.
Dogs are always thankful. Cats are always demanding.
Yeah. She's always demanding love, right?
Yeah.
Dogs are like. See now she's
Yeah.
like but dogs are a little bit. See now she's like she wants.
Clients are same
she
way,
wants
right?
attention.
Some clients have a dog personality.
Yeah.
They're always thankful.
Yeah,
even
yeah.
if you do.
And then there's some, like I used to do other businesses, and sometimes you do everything. The most of the clients that are unhappy is the ones that you do most.
Yeah.
Bro, you
100%.
notice
Yeah.
like if you go out of your way of helping them, in every case it backfires,
Yeah.
right? You
And they
help
never
them.
satisfy.
Yeah, you help them, you give them the best deal. If you went in the house, and sometimes people are afraid, especially in sales, of people are afraid to help people
Yeah.
because it backfires, because they think, there's something in it still.
Yeah.
And they're like,
There's
oh
a
man,
catch.
yeah, he's making $3,000 more,
Yeah.
$5,000 more, $6,000.
That's one thing I never understood. Why would customers just like count your commission? That's what I hated the most.
Yeah.
When you try to help them out, so how much money are you making here? What, you want me to just take out my commission and just give it to you? Just because I'm helping you out?
Yeah.
That's how the structure is being
You know what I used to do? I'm like, okay, I'm
Recruit
selling
them.
you. Recruit them.